Okay, so this is Jay. I'm back again. This is part 2 of lines, angles, and leaves. Unfortunately, when I had already shot this once before, and I mentioned in the earlier video that I had shot the second part before the first. It turns out that I made a rookie mistake, and the whiteboard, which is a big part of this one, was out of frame. You couldn't see it, and so all my nice drawings where I'm saying, and this is what it looks like, you couldn't see, so I'm reshooting it. Alright, so anyhow, this is part 2. In part 1 we talked about the basic lines and what it means to be inline, out of line, those kinds of things. What we're going to talk about today in this part is we're going to talk about 2 things primarily. We're going to talk about the angles of your leave and the angles of, and some commonly used angles on the table that I use during games all the time. And we're going to talk about those very distinctly. We're going to demonstrate some. I'll probably use some video that I shot the other day because I don't feel like redoing it. So I'm going to use the parts I could. Basically, okay, if this is our table, we talked about in the first video, isn't that a beautiful drawing? I can't draw to save my life, but I'm sure you'll understand what I mean as we go through this. So, if this is our table, we talked about, in general, if you had a ball and your next ball was off to the right-hand side of the center line, then you would want your cue ball to the left, so that the natural hit here would drift this way. Okay, and there's a couple concepts I didn't really touch on in that. I want to talk about those really quickly. When you have, I'm going to do a big drawing of what you just looked at. Here's the corner pocket. Okay. When you have a ball, the direction of travel is to the center of the pocket. Then the angle that the cue ball comes off of this is a line which is a tangent to the ball that you're shooting, and it's at a 90-degree angle to that center line, or you could just say it's a line perpendicular to the center line. And you'd be accurate. And so if the cue ball's over here, I have to make contact with that ball right here. That's a ball. I know you can't tell that, but that's a ball. It needs to make contact exactly at that point, and it will follow. If you're shooting from the left, it'll follow to the right, and it will that edge of the ball will follow that line. The ball itself doesn't, the edge of the ball does. So it would be, at any given point, it would be on a tangent with that line. Now that's assuming no English, that's assuming perfect conditions, and we're talking about basically in a vacuum with no friction. That's exactly what it looks like. In the real world, it actually tilts a little bit to the forward, with no English, slightly forward, and that's because the cloth on the table causes friction on the cue ball, which eventually imparts forward spin to it, if you have no spin when it leaves. And again, depending on how hard you hit. The softer you hit, the more forward it goes. Okay, so we talked about that. One of the things that happens is the closer the cue ball is to our center line, the slower it moves in the direction of travel off of that ball. And in the first part we talked about throw. Right now we're talking about no side English. We're just talking about a straight hit. So if the cue ball is on the center line and you hit it, it'll either stop, or if the cloth is giving it a little bit of friction, it'll roll forward a little. That's how sometimes you get those soft shots that you think are going to stop and they actually continue to roll into the pocket. That's how that happens, is the friction from the cloth is imparting topspin on it. And it's not much, but it's some. Okay. As you move away from the center line, the velocity of the balls changes. And what happens is, when you're hitting straight into it, you are transferring the velocity from this ball to this ball. It's like the thing in the doctor's office where it's got the 5 balls on string, and you pull one up and let it go, and the one on the other side flies up, and then it comes back, and you're transferring momentum through the intervening balls. It's the same concept here. This ball weighs the same as this ball 99.9% of the time, and so your mass of this ball being equal to the mass of that ball, Newton's law, equal and opposite reaction and all that stuff. This cue ball hits this ball, cue ball stops, this ball picks up the same speed the cue ball had and continues forward. Okay, so let's say that you're on an angle and now you're hitting at an angle, and you could figure out exactly what this is. I'm just going to tell you in general terms. Let's say that we transfer 80% of our momentum, and so the object ball is going to go quickly into the pocket, the cue ball is going to go slowly off to the side. If we come way out here, now you're not making the same solid contact. Now you're making a thin contact. The cue ball may have as much as 80 or 90% of the speed, and the object ball picks up 20%. That's why on thin cuts, you can hit it really hard, and the object ball just drifts into the pocket where the cue ball is bouncing all over the place. It's because you had a thin cut. And the thinner the cut, the less of that energy transfers from the cue ball to the object ball. So the thinner the cut, the harder you have to hit to make it do the same thing. Or the more initial velocity you have to give it to make the object ball do the same thing. Okay, so that's an important concept. You have to understand it. I'm not gonna demonstrate that one. I think we all know what it looks like. What I do want to talk about is something that is very important to your game, and that is, let's say this is our object ball. This is the direction we want the object ball to go. That means that this is our 90-degree, or our perpendicular line. And I guess technically it's a line because it extends as far as you need it to go. We have a center line on this side. That's the direction of travel. This is the same thing we had on the pool table. I just rotated it this way so we can demonstrate, or so I can draw something. Okay. When we're talking about leaves, we've already said if we want to leave it to the right, we have to have the cue ball on the left. So if we have the object, our next place we want to be is down here, we need the cue ball here. If it's over here, we need the cue ball here. Okay, those are our quadrants. There is a very thin area here, and I'm estimating these percentages, but I'm going to say that this is about 20 degrees, and that is your straight in or stun shot angle. Outside of that, there's a sweet spot, and that's here. And I'm going to say that this is about let's call it 60 degrees. Okay? That's this part here, and the same thing on this side. There's about 60 degrees over here that is available. Of course, the whole angle would be 180, which means that there is an area out here that I'm going to call my danger area out here that is about 20 degrees, about a 20-degree arc on either side, where it is possible to make the ball, but you're probably too thin. Again, this is just kind of proportional. This may be 10 degrees, these may be 10 degrees, but the idea holds. There's a finite area where you really want to be for a leave, and it's in this 60-degree arc on either side. And the reason for that is because that gives you enough angle and enough momentum to be able to do pretty much whatever you want with the cue ball, as opposed to here where you're kind of confined to either follow or draw, and out here where your English really isn't going to take the way you want it to, and you're going to end up with way too much momentum on the cue ball after you make the object ball. So our goal in all of this, and by the way, these are rays, technically. They extend out the entire length of the cable. You get the idea. All right, so here's where this gets important. Okay, hopefully you have this kind of memorized. If not, you can scroll back and look at it again, because we're going to be referring to this diagram a lot. Okay. So here's why that's important to know. Let's say I have a shot my pool table, and I have a shot, the same one we were talking about before. I've got an object ball that I'm going to put in the corner pocket. I've got a cue ball. It's out here. These are obviously not to scale. And I've got an object ball up here, which is the 2 ball in my order. Okay, so actually let's back this up just a little bit and say it's further from the pocket, because that one's just too easy. Say the object ball is here and the cue ball is here, and they're in a direct line to the pocket. Okay, when I'm looking at the 2 ball, okay, now this is frozen to the rail. My center line on the 2 ball actually comes parallel to the rail, right? And this is my 90-degree line. Okay. I want to get it into that 60-degree angle that we just talked about, and obviously again not to scale. This is 60 degrees. All right. When I'm thinking about how to leave this, before I even get the cue ball anywhere, and just for the sake of argument, we're going to assume the object ball is going to go in that corner. Okay. I can leave my cue ball here, right? And I'll hit it, and I'll drift straight up, hit the rail, and come back. And the time that I spend inside that 60 degrees is the length of time that it takes to do, is the length of time that it takes for the cue ball to travel between those. So you can see I have to be fairly accurate in my speed to get it into that angle. On the other hand, if I was to shoot my cue ball over here, then I could make my object ball, and I could, let me extend those lines for just a second. Let's extend our 60-degree line. Okay. I could, actually let me do this. I'm going to use different colored ink so that it shows up better. Alright. So I could hit the object ball and go straight up to the rail and straight back, which gives me from here to here, speed-wise, to be able to be in that called cone. On the other hand, if I have the cue ball on the other side, now I can shoot it and put top English on it, and the cue ball comes down, it hits, and it goes this way. And now I've been inside that arc from here to here. And you can see I no longer have to have anywhere near the degree of speed control for this shot that I had to have for this one. And I'll put it on the table so you can see what I'm talking about here. The idea being that you want to spend as much time as possible inside that 60-degree angle that's giving you the shot that you want. Okay? So when you're thinking about these shots, what you want to think about is, where do I have to be to have the easy shot on the ball? And then from there you think, how do I spend as much time inside that area as possible? Don't try to be perfect. I know people that will try to say, I want the cue ball here. Well, you know what? You can do that, and you can say, I want the cue ball here, and then your entire game plan is blown if the cue ball ends up there. So forget about trying to be perfect on your leaves. Start thinking in terms of areas. There are occasions where you do have to be perfect, but try to limit those, because I'll tell you right now, none of us are perfect. So let's say you said, I want to be right here for my shot, if that's how you would normally think about it. Well, the fact is, if you were to draw a line from the contact where the ball would be when you hit the two, through that, you know what? If I'm here, it's still the same shot. If I'm here, it's still the same shot. The thing is, you don't have to be right there. Forget about trying to be perfect. It's the same shot either way. The only difference is the speed you're hitting it. So don't focus on trying to get point precision leaves, unless you absolutely have to. Focus on getting the angle to spend as much time inside that target cone as you can. And here's how that looks on the table. Shot we just talked about. I've got a ball sitting here. The ball before it is out here. I can either, okay, ball before it's out here. I can either, well, let me actually draw these. I'm going to use chalk on my table. I don't do this very often. But let's draw our 60-degree angle here. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, there's our target area. That's where we need to be. Anywhere in here, we've got a great shot. It actually comes out further than that. Probably comes all the way out like this. Anywhere in this area, we've got a good shot on the 8, right? And I'm hoping you can see the chalk on the table. If you can't, it runs from here all the way to there. And anywhere in that area, we've got a good shot on the 8. So I can either, taking it from this side, would probably help if I move it again. I can either go straight up and down, and you see, it only had that much area. very hard to get it to stop there. Or I leave the same shot, but I leave it on the other side, and now probably ought to aim a little bit top English and a miscue, and I'm still in my target area even with the miscue. My point here, though, is that same shot, other side, and now when I hit it, I've been in the target area from here all the way to the rail, all the way back, and I would have still been in the target area all the way out to here. How much less precision am I required to play to get it in that area? And anywhere in this area, that 8-ball should be just about a gimme for anybody but me. So that's kind of the idea, is get yourself into that area. However, so this was actually a shot that Ray Martin and I looked at when I was doing a little bit of ghostwriting for a project that didn't work out. And this was the shot that we had. And the thing was, if you wanted to leave this shot, you had to use your angle, again, is basically that corner of the table. And so if you tried to go at it like most people would with top English, you ended up spending a little bit of time in there. But if you use bottom inside English instead, it made the cue ball go wider, and you ended up spending an ungodly amount of time inside that angle. I hit that bad. I either hit it bad or too good. I don't think I had it lined up the same way we did. Or 2 diamonds and 1.5, I think, was the angle we used. Yeah. And you can see now I'm in the area. There's no precision whatsoever needed to get that leave. I could have hit that twice as hard or half as hard, and I'd still end up right in here. So that's the idea behind that. Okay. So keeping that in mind, it means we have to understand some of the angles that will work. I'm going to have to talk about the 3 main angles I use in determining leaves. I use 3 diamond method shots. The first one, so let's talk about the diamonds for a minute. Okay, you got your table, not to scale. Horrible drawing, I know. Alright, on the side of the table you got what's called diamonds, and there's 3 of them on each rail. And I know that for some of you, you know what diamonds are. I don't have to explain it. But just in case somebody's watching that doesn't know what they are, they're these little spots on the side of the rail. Okay, the number 1 most common angle that I use is what I would call the long 3 rail. And the way it works is it goes from the center of the pocket through this. They actually, when they're doing it, they use a grid, so that would be diamond number 6. But I just call it the second diamond from the corner. It hits there with running English. That's English towards the path of travel. So in this case, I'm traveling to the right. That means the running English would be right English. It hits down here between these 2 diamonds. It will hit at the 3rd diamond here, and it will go into that pocket. So, second diamond hits the end rail, comes to the 3rd diamond, goes to this pocket. And there is a whole big math thing. There's actually a Donald Duck math video that some of us saw when we were young that explained how the diamond system actually works and how the math actually works. Not going to go into it here. Just know that wherever you hit on this side plus where it hits on this side equals 5. Okay, so if you hit the third diamond, it will hit the second diamond over here. If you hit the fourth diamond, which is actually the side pockets are considered a diamond for this, if you hit the fourth diamond, it will hit the first diamond on this rail. These two rails added together equal 5. Very important to remember that, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. Alright, so there's a method for aiming these that I want to talk about real quick. It's called the spot on the wall method. Okay, and here's how the spot on the wall method works. If I look from the center of the pocket, and by the way, these 3-rail shots, it's the rail in front of the diamond, not the diamond itself. So if I was to take it and put a piece of chalk there on the rail where that second diamond is, if I look from the center of the pocket through that diamond, I see a spot on the wall. If I aim at that spot on the wall with running English, it goes 3 rails into the other corner. Okay, now you're sitting there saying to yourself, well, wait a second, what if I'm not sitting right in the center of the corner pocket? What if I'm not on that line? What if I'm way up here? That's what's cool about this shot. It's called a self-correcting shot. As long as I aim at that spot on the wall that I just identified, it'll still go 3 rails and it'll go in. What I'm doing is I'm setting up the same angle for my shot going into the rail. And that's the important part, is the angle that you hit that rail, this rail over here or up here. Because yes, it does work down here too. If I'm down here and I hit that same spot on the wall, it still goes 3 rails into that corner. It doesn't matter where I am on the table, as long as I aim at that spot on the wall, I'm going to do it. And it works from every corner. I can come over here and look and say, okay, this point's over there, and so I can come over here and just hit, and it's going to go in the corner. Or it should go in the corner anyhow. Obviously I didn't take the time to aim that. So that's the first one I use. And for every diamond that you come closer to that end of the table, the cue ball comes about 3/4 of a diamond higher on the table each time. So third diamond to the second diamond should hit 3/4 of a diamond here. Fourth diamond, which is the side again, remember that. So if you're aiming that, you aim at the very lip of the middle when you're figuring out the angle. That'll hit 1.5 diamonds up this rail. Likewise, if you go the other way down and you say, okay, I'm going one diamond longer, well, it's going to be the first diamond here, and it's going to be the fourth diamond there, which is the side pocket. Remember that. But assuming that the angles work out so that it's not truly going in the side pocket, it'll hit about 3/4 of a diamond on this rail. And then if you were to aim through the corner pocket, it would hit 1.5 diamonds. So that's the first angle I use, and I use that to adjust all the time for things. So if I've got a ball sitting down here about 3/4 of a diamond, and I need to make that, and I'm up here somewhere and I can't see it because there's a ball in the way, I can go here and go through that third diamond, see where the point's at, aim at it, and I should hit that ball. I don't know why I didn't hit that ball other than I don't aim. Yeah, see? it hits a ball. Okay, now you're asking yourself, what if the ball's not on the rail? What if the ball's out here? And I need to go 3 rails and hit it. Okay? So there's actually a cheat for this one. And here's how it works. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that this ball is on the head string, 1 diamond in. Okay? And I need to hit it. What I can do is I can go to the other side of the table, head string, 1 diamond in, and use that as my start point through the second diamond. Because remember, it goes pocket to pocket, right? So if I take it and move it up, I'm now mirroring the same angle. I see this one points roughly there. Running English, medium hit, and I came close. I obviously didn't aim it very well. Let's see, put the ball there just so I can see where it is. Oh, yeah, no wonder. So that's how you get your 3 rail hits. And I use those to adjust all the time. Again, it's there. I can go here and I can say through the second diamond, or because that's on the path to there, I can say here through the first diamond and see what it points at. And try to actually hit my spot. And I can do those all day. It's just a matter of knowing that this plus that equals 5, and that the second diamond is what I would call the mirror diamond, meaning that if I mirror it and look through the rail in front of the second diamond, if I mirror the shot on the other side, look through the second diamond, I'll get to that shot. So that's how I figure those shots out. If you have questions, please feel free to add them in the comments section. But that is how I figure these 3 rail shots you see me shoot every now and then, if you've ever seen me shoot in real life. So the second one that I use all the time, this one is a little bit different, but I use it all the time. And that is, so remember, on the 3 rail, long 3 rail shot, what matters is the angle you come into that rail. That's what matters. As long as you come into the rail at an angle, aiming at that point on the wall, you'll be good. And what I mean by that is, if you think about that shot, it means that, let's say, so we're using 9 ball, let's say I had something like this. Okay, if I have something like this and I need to get that hit, and I probably need to move that back so I can actually hit the right side of the cue ball. What I can do is I can measure my angle. Center of the pocket, through the second diamond, I see the spot on the wall, okay? Now I can go to my ball and figure out where I have to hit it to hit that spot on the wall. And then I can shoot that with running English, and that should come 3 rails and make the 7. And so, and that's a classic billiard shot. It's actually the billiard shot. People run 20 hits in a row with shooting exactly that shot. You just can't beat it. So the same theory works if you come off a ball, as long as you have the angle going into the rail. Okay? All right, now on to that next shot. The reason I say this one is different is because two things are different about it. One is it doesn't use any English. And the second one is our aiming point starts either at this diamond, diamond number 3 on the rail, or at the spot in the center of the table. Because that spot sits on the line between those two. If my drawing was to scale, it would be directly on that line. Okay, and the shot is from this diamond through this diamond with no English, goes in that side pocket. It hits there, it hits thin down here, it hits very close to the pocket, and it comes out and it goes into that side. Again, no English whatsoever, and here's what that looks like. And it works the same way. Spot on the wall works with this one too, because it's another self-correcting shot. So center on the spot, just to make this easy. The way that this is different is I'm aiming at the spot itself, not the rail in front of it. I'm aiming at the spot, so from diamond to diamond, okay? No English, nice easy hit. Should go in that side if I don't put English on it. And that is the hard part here, is this one requires no English. If you put English on it, you run the risk of having it not work. So there it is, right on in the side, with a little help from the table. So that's the 3 rails to the side. Again, same thing works, spot on the wall, diamond, through the first diamond, find the spot on the wall, aim at it, no English. Double check that. No English, nice smooth hit. Should go right around the side pocket if I actually hit where I'm aiming. And I'm hitting it very, very badly. That's the second one I use. I don't use that one as often because it's self-correcting but not enough. In fact, it's very easy to pick up too much English, which is what you're seeing me do. But in a pinch, that one comes in handy to know as well. All right, third one. And this is actually a twofer. From the center diamond, through the first diamond down there, with top English, goes to this corner right here. Okay? Doesn't necessarily go in the corner, but it's close enough for government work. The same angle, center diamond through the first diamond, I'm talking about this diamond right here. Same shot with running English, goes in the side. It goes in the side if I actually hit it. And again, not perfect, but it's close enough that if we're in a bind that we're shooting a 2-rail shot to get a hit, knowing that shot is a gold mine. All right, so the 3 that we talked about, the long 3-railer. Second one we talked about is the short into the side pocket shot. And the third one we talked about is middle diamond through the diamond itself, the first diamond here, with top English, goes down towards that corner pocket, may not go in it, but it'll be close. And with running English, we'll go to that side pocket, again, may not be in it, but it will be close. And knowing those angles means that when you get stuck with something like this, instead of going up and down the table, which is kind of a gamble, you might get a hit, you might not, you might completely miss and go in there and go in the pocket. Instead, what you can do is go here and look and just say, okay, I know the top English, I know that that's up a little, so I got to adjust a bit and miss it completely. Well, helps if you actually aim at the spot. And again, the main point there is to get a hit at that point. Yes, you could really fine tune this and adjust and know exactly where you need to hit to get to make it. Honestly, I'm not doing that much math in the middle of a pool game. And if you try, you're going to get put on a timer because you're going to be so slow. And again, the 3-rail, long 3-rail, what matters is not to making the shot. What matters is not how good your English is. What matters is the angle that you come into this rail. So if I want to hit this shot, I just need to come into the angle that I would get from the corner to that third diamond. We'll hit that, right? We know that. If I go right on that line and I shoot corner to the rail in front of the third diamond, I know I'm going to hit that one and stand a good chance of making it. But what matters is this angle. Whatever this angle is, if you were to measure it, that's what matters. If I can get the cue ball to do that, it doesn't matter where I start or how I get there. What matters is, did I get in there with that angle? And if I do, I'm going to get that hit. It's how it goes into that rail that counts. I don't care how you got there. What I care about is how'd you get it, how did it hit this rail? I mean, you can add as many rails as you want to the shot. It's still going to the same place. And again, adjust just a little bit. But the whole point being that these rails are entirely predictable. For getting hits, I would much rather, in the old days when pool used to use the balk line, which is what the headstring used to be called, you would have people that would shoot shots like this to shoot across the line and come back over and try to make that one in the corner. And that's a perfectly legitimate shot, but it's not that easy to actually execute. Other people would try to shoot up the table and shoot it in this way. And again, all it takes is a little mistake in your English and it breaks and you miss the shot. But you can always go 3 rails and have a really, really good chance of making that ball. Now that you know that's banks. Okay, so why are those important? All right, let's look at what the cue ball does. I'm going to shoot into the third diamond here, so I'm going to hit up on this rail. Watch what the cue ball does when it comes down in this area. Do you see what it did? It kind of died off this rail, and that's because the English is reverse at this point. It was running when it hit it up there, but now it's coming the other way, so it's reversed English. Okay, why is that important? Well, let's say I've got this shot where it's almost impossible to hold the cue ball. No, I really ought to replace those. Let's say I've got this shot where it's really, really hard. I mean, the one ball is makeable, but keeping the one ball where it's got a good shot is pretty hard. Well, some people will try to draw that down. Some people will try to hit it just really, really hard. Me, I'm just going to spin it in and use that rail and that reversing action off the rail. Guess what? I am right in my target area. So knowing that, let's say I'm down here. I've got a really, really thin angle. I've got an angle, but I don't have much of one, and I need to get down there. Well, again, top right. I can spin it down there and go for that same angle again, and guess what? There I am. See it die off this rail? There I am. I'm perfect on my ball. So sometimes it's easier to do the multiple rail leaves than it is to do just the regular ones. What about the side one we talked about? Well, in the video that I put out on April 10th, it's there. You can see it. I make this shot. I cut it. I didn't have a shot that way, so I cut it backwards into this pocket. But my next ball was up here. And so if I hit that hard, it goes 1, 2, 3 and down there, and then I've got that long table shot that may be a weird cut or whatever. So instead, I used English to hold this up when it hit the rail, and it hit the rail about right down here. It hit it pretty low. But you can see I was able to hold the cue ball down by using that rail. And actually, if I had used the other side English, like I did in the video, this was actually more over here. But I was able to spin it around and bring it out for that easy shot on the side by using English to pull it in and go for that 3 rail to the side shot. Which ultimately gave me the out because I had this, and then I had a little run down the rail for the 8 and the stop for the 9. So that's kind of part 2 of this. Part 3, we'll actually put it all together. I'll get on the table with some racks, we'll break them, and we'll run them. Or we'll attempt to run them. You've seen me attempting to run them so far, and it hasn't gone so well. We'll attempt to run them, and as we're going through, I will talk my way through the leaves and why I'm thinking the way I am and what I'm doing, why I'm making the choices that I'm making, and from there we will we'll continue on. So that's part 2 of lines, angles, and leaves. If you have any comments, please put them below. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. If I can't, I will go find somebody who can and ask them. And you're always welcome to subscribe. I'm putting these up there for some friends, but as long as they're up there, you might as well watch them if you're interested in pool. So anyhow, that's what's going on with the lines, leaves, and angles. Lines, angles, and leaves. And we'll see you next time.